In my last video, I showed some new valves I made for an indoor pepper growing project that I've got in the works. This time, I'm continuing on that journey by building the structure for the lights, including a new winch I cooked up to vary the height of the lights as the plant grows. Being able to adjust the height of the LEDs means more light on the leaves where I want it, and less being wasted getting spewed out into the room. For now, I'm just building a cell for growing a single pepper plant, and here's the basic layout for what I'm working toward. The planter and hydroponics parts will be down here, and surrounded by these 3 aluminum extrusion uprights. That leaves an open space for a plant of about 450 millimeters or 18 inches in diameter. On top of the extrusion uprights is the lighting system, with the winch up on top, and this moving platform that the lights will attach to suspended underneath. The lights can move up and down by about 600 millimeters or about 2 feet. While on the smaller side for a full-size pepper plant, in the past I found I can get pretty good yields of peppers even from smaller plants in these setups, so I think it'll be enough for my purposes here. Those 3 extrusion uprights not only serve as the structural support for the lighting gear, but they also act as the bearing surfaces for the lift mechanism. But I also have some future ambitions for add-ons that'll need to use the outer surfaces of these extrusions. So I wanted the bearings for the light lifting system to only use the innermost surfaces. To achieve that, each upright has a set of rollers that rides along it. These rollers have these V-shaped caps that ride within the T-slots of the extrusions, and are spring-loaded from the center to provide a preload to the rollers, as well as to take up slack from the tolerance stack. Having 2 rollers on each will resist any rotations that would be caused by the winch lift point being offset at all from the center of gravity of the moving platform. The setup keeps all 3 other sides of each extrusion free of obstruction, and I'll share what I've got in mind for that free space in a future video. On the other side, these rollers attach to some short extrusions that go in toward the center and attach to a hub. These extrusions that attach to the bearings, along with 3 more that also extend radially out from the hub, will be the attachment points for the LED clusters. Also attached to this central hub is the lift point for the hoist. And for that hoist lift point, I decided to have a little fun with Fusion's Generative design tool. I designed it to allow for a tension load at the lift point of up to 50 newtons or a bit over 10 pounds of force. In addition to the attachment point for the lift cable, there are also these attachment points on either side for constraining the electrical cables. I decided to try something a little different for this build, and have the winch pull some double duty. Not only will it wind and unwind the winch cable to raise and lower the lights, but it'll also wind and unwind the electrical cabling that's powering them. I would normally use some sort of cable track for this kind of thing, but I thought this might be a fun alternative approach to test out for this one. The pulley of the winch is split into 3 separate sections, one for the lift cable, and the other 2 for the electrical wires. I wanted to be able to run at least 10 conductors to handle the relatively high power draw of all the LEDs, plus some data channels, and maybe some expansion capacity in case I want to test out additional capabilities down the road. So using the 2 separate conductor spools allows me to split up all these conductors into 2 smaller bundles. And one big reason I wanted these smaller bundles is also a reason I wanted these relatively large diameter pulleys. I went with 70 millimeter or a little under 3 inch diameter pulleys, so each rotation of the pulley gets me around 200 millimeters or a bit over 8.5 inches of lift. So I should get the full 600 millimeters of travel that I'm looking for, with only 3 rotations of the pulley, and I can easily spread 3 wraps of the cable on a single layer. If it was more than 1 layer, then each additional layer of winding can add as much as 6 times the cable diameter of additional travel per rotation. And that would mean that thicker bundles of electrical cable would be moving quite a bit more than the thinner lift cable, which would be suboptimal. So by keeping it to a single layer on all 3 spools, hopefully the electrical cables will stay tighty without getting tensile tested. To get these electrical cables out, they pass through openings in the pulley to the hollow interior, and then they're routed out through the openings in the bearing supports. To drive the winch is this worm gear integrated over here on this side of the pulley that's driven by the worm below. And these parts show exactly why I really need to stop procrastinating on these builds for videos. Instead of dealing with these not so pretty gears that came off my printer at home, I could have called on the sponsor of today's video, PCBWay, for some much better looking and more robust alternatives. With PCBWay, I could have had these gears printed out of one of their numerous material options for robust, high-resolution SLA prints. And for that hoist lift part I showed earlier, I could have gone even more extreme with the design by leveraging PCBWay's metal printing services. They offer really affordable selective laser melt printing in aluminum, and even in more hardcore materials like tool steel or titanium. And I'll definitely be looking to them to help me out with some custom PCB boards once I'm ready to tackle the electrical on this system. They offer all kinds of great options of custom PCBs that make the hours of time spent soldering up perf board circuits a thing of the past for me. If you want to see how PCBWay can help out with parts for your next project, check out the link down in the description. Getting back to the build, the worm is supported on one end by another roller bearing, and on the other by a jewel bearing, which is acting as both a radial and thrust bearing. By the way, if you're looking for an easy way to add gear elements to your models, I just download the gear models I want from somewhere like McMaster Car as step files, and merge them in. Makes for an easy way to get gears with proper involute geometries without me having to do any real work. my favorite. To ensure the gears could handle the load I intended to subject them to, I did decide to break out a tiny bit of maths. The cable tension I want the winch to be able to handle is 50 newtons, and the pulley the cable's on has a radius of 35 millimeters. The worm gear has a pitch diameter of 120 millimeters, or 60 millimeter radius, so the expected force at the gear tooth should be around 30 newtons. Applying that to the 20 square millimeter surface area of the tooth gives a contact pressure of about 1.4 megapascals, or around 200 psi. Granted, this would only be if the teeth were perfectly meshed, which they won't be, but it's so far below the 20 to 50 megapascal yield strength of PET-G that I'm not too worried about it. The stress I'm more worried about is shearing off the teeth. So to sanity check that one, I just calculated the shear area by multiplying the root width of the tooth by the gear's face width, which came out to 22 square millimeters. So the shear stress is in the same ballpark as that of the contact pressure, coming out to about 1.3 megapascals, or about 190 psi, which again is well below what I would expect the shear strength to be of at least 15 megapascals or 2200 psi. So, with that, I went ahead and built the thing. One change that I made during the build was to split the worm gear from the rest of the pulley. That allowed me to test out different print parameters on the gear to get better tooth profiles without having to reprint the full pulley. For testing, I also swapped out the stepper motor for a DC gear motor so I could just hook it up to a power supply and run it. But then even this was frustrating my lazy self, and led me to a bit of a tangent project. I decided I wanted to make myself a controller pendant to drive the mechanism up and down during my testing. And here's how that came out. I just used a couple of momentary buttons and one of these H-bridge boards to drive things. The 24 volt power comes in through this barrel plug, and the motor gets connected to this standard RC connector. To actuate those push buttons, I wanted to try out integrating the button pushers into the front cover, so I connected the pads to these torsion flexures on either side, allowing them to rotate. The circuit with the buttons sits just behind the front cover, so when the pad is pressed it rotates down and engages the button underneath. While a simple little assembly, I've been pretty pleased with this little guy. I have yet to finish up the designs for the lighting system components that'll be attached to the moving bit, but I did throw some weights on it to simulate the target mass, and it seems to do just fine. Now that I've confirmed this setup is working to my liking, the next step will be to finish up the lighting system design and get it installed. Then the only thing really left to do is the planter with integrated hydroponic elements and get a seedling going. Once I have that going, I want to experiment with some different data collection ideas I have in mind, and otherwise tinker until the peppers are ready. But I think that's as good a spot as any to call it for this one. Thanks for sticking around this long, and if you have any questions or suggestions, let me hear them down below. And a big thanks again to PCBWay for supporting this video and my channel. Thanks for watching, and hope you're building something fun.